Hey.
Okay, I think we're live. I did it. I feel like I accomplished something. Okay, you're frozen. We're live. Did it. I feel like yeah, you're a mess. You're a pixelated mess.
Am I coming back to reality?
A little bit.
Am I better?
But Ashley Rose is watching, but she's patient and understands. So
We have 3 minutes. Am I better?
no, not much.
Oh, that's not good. I feel like I have better connection.
Now you're a little better.
Let's just give it some time.
Megan Garner is also watching. Hey, Megan.
Let's go on Facebook.
What?
I'm jumping on Facebook.
Hey, Darren. So I heard some exciting news.
What's the exciting news?
I've been so excited to talk about this with you. I heard that, in response to COVID-19, the Jaguars have reduced the ticket sales down to 25% capacity. So it's just going to be like normal.
Is it bad? Is it bad that I think they are still not going to be able to actually fill the stadium?
Even at 25%?
I don't think so.
Oh, Darren, I have converted you. I've changed you.
No, I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, if it's so hard to get people to church and everywhere else, you think they're going to go to Jags games and watch?
Of course they will. People go to Jags games before they go to church. Look at this.
Put on a face mask.
You think they're going to make them wear face masks the whole time?
Yeah, that's what they said.
Oh, no. I will stay home and watch it on TV, which is what I was going to do anyway. So.
Doesn't change anything.
Oh,
there I am.
I was going to record it so I could skip the commercials.
My dad used to record the game, so that way if they lost, he wouldn't have to suffer through the whole thing.
He didn't have to waste his time. See, I don't want to know. I record most sports, and I don't really want to know. So I don't have any notifications on my sports apps on my phone to keep me from knowing anything. And then I try to tell people, don't tell me.
See, but the sports apps would help you keep up with baseball because I have so many.
I have the app, but I don't have notifications on.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because if I record the Braves games, and sometimes I will watch them, days later.
I'm so upset at baseball. I'm just gonna say that, like, baseball had the golden opportunity to win so many, especially with just how political all the other sports are becoming. They could have been the apolitical sports option right now.
Well,
and they had to go screw it all up.
It's not the first time.
Disappointed.
Paul Anderson and his home group are watching.
That's scary.
Hey, all of you. Watching from Paul's house.
Who would really go in the first place? Actually, if you gave me tickets, I would go, to every game, even in the hot sun.
Do not encourage him, Ashley. Hey, Cheryl.
Just I wouldn't pay for this stuff right now.
I think yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Maybe COVID will be the magic charm for the Jaguars.
Yeah, they're gonna win a season with an asterisk. It's gonna be like, this is the COVID season. They only won because everybody else was sick.
And they're not playing in London this year. So
here's the thing. The Jaguars have a leg up because Jacksonville is becoming a hot spot. So if the whole players get it right now and then they don't get sick during the season.
That's terrible.
No, Pro Football Focus did a whole thank you, Ashley. Pro Football Focus did a whole article today on how will players seek a competitive advantage in football season by coughing on other players?
Oh.
And I thought, I wonder.
Of course they will.
Like, you could just to get in their head, just start coughing on people.
Of course.
It's a thing, Man, it's 7:00.
It is 7:00.
Ready to start?
I'm ready whenever you are.
I was
I
born.
feel like we need a bumper. I feel like we need some sort of theme music and some cool graphic, something.
Do we want to work on that? What theme music would you want to walk up to?
I don't
We'll,
know.
we'll say walk up music for you, just so that way.
Yeah, my walk-up song, if I were a baseball player, my walk-up music would be Run Devil by David Crowder. Run Devil Run. That's my walk-up music.
That's been your walk up music for like 5 years now. We got to get you some
But it's
walk-up
not
music
changing.
because you're.
I'm 48 years old. We're not changing my walk-up song now.
I was gonna not go with your age and go with you're on a hot streak and you don't want to change anything out of bad luck.
Yeah, that's much better. I'm on a hitting streak, and we're not going to change it now.
That's where I was gonna go. So, if you want to say that you're old, you can.
I didn't say I'm old. I said I was 48. I'm going to leave it to everybody to determine if that's old or not.
That's ancient. I mean, Tom Brady's old and he's 42. So
Aaron.
Tom Brady. I mean, people look at him like he's a dinosaur in football.
I'm not. Yeah. Well.
You know what's scary is I'm now at the age when players who aren't good start retiring because they're not good, which means that I'm now old enough for like retired football players to be my age.
Yeah.
That means I'm old.
Yep, Darren, it happens to all of us.
It's all downhill from here, man.
It's all downhill.
60 years of downhill nature right here. I did get excited walking up because I saw the fire truck in our parking lot, like with water being sprayed out, and I thought a car was on fire. I thought it was going to be some excitement, but I think they're just testing it out. Ashley, hey, now those of us who are in our 40s are not old. I'm just saying your retiring age in professional.
It's time to start. We had the walk-up music going, and now it's time to start. Stop talking about how old we are.
All right, keep going. We haven't lost anybody though. We're still at 14, so we're good. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. My name is Darren, and this is Gary, and we are here for your weekly Southside Baptist Church update. We got to think of a cool name besides Sunday Night Talkback. Cool update music kind of coming in.
Yeah,
we got to envision this whole thing.
Get that together. Let's make something happen.
We will. We can have like hand motions and stuff that we do together, and then after COVID, we can synchronize.
I can give you. I'm below you, so yeah, we can something.
High fives. Well, thank you guys for joining. If that was not dorky or nerdy enough, we are here. Today's topic of conversation is just wrapping up our series. We just wrapped up the Little Things series today, and then we're quickly approaching our next series. So this is now 2 whole series we have done in the midst of COVID. Gary, how do you feel about that?
Well, it's still a little surreal. Like even with people in the room now, it still is different because most of the folks that we, are ministering to are not with us physically. I mean, so it still feels very strange. I'm still getting used to talking to people who aren't in the room, and it's got its pluses. There are a lot of folks that we've connected with who really, even if it weren't COVID, wouldn't be able to be with us, and so that's been super cool. But I'll be honest, I'm still learning how to communicate via media as opposed to live and in person. So trying to figure out how to do that well and communicate well and keep all our resources available and easy to access. And but I'm really grateful for our team. And Darren, you've led that effort. And so I really want to give a shout out to you and to Jaron and to Megan and to Dallas, and I mean, just John Mercer. I mean, so many people who have worked hours and hours and hours to make happen what's happening right now. And, you guys are continuing to try to make it better, and we appreciate that. But yeah, it's hard to believe 2 whole series, and the pause series was long. Yeah. So I kept thinking that if I kept stretching the pause series out longer, the whole thing would end. But I finally decided I'm going to have to switch series. I can't stay in pause forever.
Yeah. I'm just looking at this and I'm thinking, man, I was talking to a group this morning, and I almost forget what it was like before COVID. And, I appreciated that last question you had in the small group guide of the Go Fish series, because it's like that was right before COVID started. And it was crazy just to remember, there was a life before COVID this year.
It feels so long ago. When I was, if you were in the small group, you've used the small group discussion guide. The last question was basically, since we did the Go Fish series at the first of the year, have you done anything with it? Have you actually entered into sort of spiritual conversation with somebody, shared your story, talked about just the gospel, and have you done that since then? And it was an accountability question. I know for me, I mean, it was a question I thought, ooh, I really wouldn't want to be asked that question, because I mean, while I don't think I've done it as much as I could or should, and I can blame COVID, but the truth is, we all have still opportunities to interact, even if it's digitally or in other means. So so it was kind of fun to circle back around in the Little Things series and touch back on that topic that I think is so important and really at the heart of the mission of the church. So, to make disciples and equip those who do. And that starts with just telling the story, sharing the basic gospel message.
So, so what was I love today's sermon. Even at the very beginning, it was one of my favorite sermon series. When we started talking about what stories would we want to bring out in this. So what was your favorite part of kind of crafting the sermon today and for those of you who haven't paid attention or haven't seen it yet, it was the story of Joseph, Arimathea, and Nicodemus, and them kind of giving up, preparing Jesus's body, giving up the tomb, and for Jesus's resurrection, burial, and resurrection.
Yeah, so I mean, I love apologetics, and for those of you who that may be a new term for, apologetics is basically how to make a basic argument for the gospel, how to make a basic argument for what you believe, apologetics. So I love apologetics. I think it's, especially around the Easter story, because it's central to what we believe. So I really enjoyed getting into the issues of the burial. We always talk about the crucifixion and the resurrection. We don't talk a lot about the burial. Paul, writing to the Corinthians, said, that Jesus was crucified according to our sin, he was buried according to the scripture, and he was raised again. The crucifixion, the burial, and the resurrection. The burial really is important because it is what sets up how we can believe and have confidence in the historical nature of the resurrection. And really key to the burial story is Joseph of Arimathea in particular, but Nicodemus. So those two disciples are so key. And it's not a little thing, but the reason I think it fits in the Little Things series is because it's an overlooked thing. Christians, Easter sermon after Easter sermon, we talk about the crucifixion and the resurrection, but we skip the burial. So I would say that was probably my favorite part about covering that subject today for the Little Things series and wrapping it up. And what an appropriate story to close with too, because I just think it again points us back to the truth that the gospel is dependent on people sharing the story of what happened, what historically took place, and why we believe what we believe.
I think as Christians, picking up the idea that even sometimes major acts that you do will go unseen, and how just like these major acts by these kind of Jewish elite, really is what they were, really goes unseen by so many Christians. But for them, I think they would gladly do it again because it's not about them, it's about Jesus. And so that kind of reminder for us, but also, if it wasn't for it, I think you mentioned it in the sermon, Jesus' body would have just been thrown in with everybody else. It's not like they really took care of the bodies after they were crucified. And that would have led to so many people who could have, just said, oh, he really didn't die. And it's one of the things that we can really go back on.
The fact that, the tomb was a new tomb that had never been used before, meaning that it didn't have bodies already in it, which would have been normal for burials in that day. There would have been, could have been 3-4 other bodies in the same tomb already, or bodies that, that were already there and had been taken out already. And the fact that it was a brand new tomb never used just helps. That's such a small detail in the story, but it's so critical for our understanding and belief of the resurrection.
Yeah, and I think what's crazy is there's always a search for the tomb of Jesus that's always going on. And I always think what's crazy about it is, they always feel like they found it because of, seeing the family members in the tomb and stuff like that. And it's like, who knows if that was even a thing, but at the same time, it wasn't his family's tomb. It wasn't. And so, I wouldn't doubt that probably, Joseph of Arimathea just kind of took it back over. It was his family's tomb.
That makes perfect sense.
And so, I always think it's funny how much the search for the tomb uh, just infatuates, I think, people's minds.
Well, we all want to be Indiana Jones, like we fancy ourselves, like we're going to be some Indiana Jones finding the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant or something. And but I think I think there is divine purpose in us not knowing for sure, because I mean, our human tendency, look what we've done to the ones we think it is. I mean, they've built cathedrals and they've made it just basically a religious relic, when that's not the point. The point is the tomb is empty, and it doesn't, I mean, it holds historic significance, but it doesn't hold spiritual significance for us. It's not a place where we have to make a pilgrimage, like our Muslim friends are required to make a pilgrimage to a holy site. As Christians, we don't have that. That place is special because of its history. But the fact that we don't, know exactly which tomb it is, and different people will argue about it, only reiterates the fact that it's of little importance now because he ain't there.
So I'll kind of start with a question for you, just because, I don't think people always see our personal stories, and we don't always like putting them inside of our sermons. So what little thing in your life, going back to your first question, we talked about the last one in this worship guide, the first one, what little thing in your life did somebody do, or a little thing that somebody did that led to your salvation?
Yeah, well, I mean, and I told this story during the Go Fish series, but it's really what they did for my uncle when, a fellow that he was working for after school shared the gospel with him, just shared about Jesus. And my uncle gave his life to Christ, led my mother to Christ. I remember I was old enough to know we started going to church. I remember her being baptized. I remember, just sort of changed the trajectory of our family. And so that little thing, really put me in a place and an environment where I heard the gospel. So that's a big deal. But there are other things along the way too. And a lot of people don't, know this. I mean, a lot of people do know this, but they don't know, I think, some of the significance just in my own story. So I was raised at Southside, I gave my life to Christ at VBS in Ohio. My family moved to Jacksonville shortly after. I was about 9. I was baptized at Southside. My 4th grade Sunday school teacher was Dolores Britt. And so I tell people all the time, if you don't like my theology, you got to go talk to Dolores, because she was one of my very first Sunday school teachers. And I remember we were at a time where my family, it was a difficult time for my family, and we weren't always going to church. And Dolores would come pick me up. I was in her Sunday school class. She'd come pick me up and drive me to church. And I mean, a little thing, but is it really? I mean, I don't know. Would I do what I do today? Would I be where I am today were it not for that, that man in Ohio who shared with my uncle? If it hadn't been for Dolores just caring enough to come pick me up and take me to church with her on the Sundays I wasn't going to go. Those are little things, but they're not little things, and that's really the message of the whole series.
Yeah, my answer to that was just thinking back to my, I remember I was a pastor's kid, and everybody just kind of assumed that, you're kind of saved if you're a pastor's kid. And for me, that brought a bunch of guilt and shame in terms of, when I knew, hey, I really don't have this faith. But the little thing for me was that, I went to bed one night, and, I just couldn't get to sleep. And I was, I don't know, going into 6th grade, and I went to my mom and just wanted to talk things through with her. And for me, it's the little thing of my mom being able to put down the dishes or whatever. She was in the kitchen, I remember that. But being able to just put all that stuff down and just have the conversation. And along with that, it's the other little times where my mom was always willing to allow those small conversations that, you look back and you think, well, those are, that's a big commitment from a mother. And yeah, over time, it's a big commitment, but it's a big commitment over really small acts and making yourself available when you don't feel like making yourself available to your kid. And if I didn't have that relationship with my mom, who knows if I would have trusted her to go and ask her the questions that ultimately led to me making a decision that night. So
and that's such an important reminder too for people with kids. Kids, you use stall tactics at night, and we all get tired of the kid getting out of bed over and over again, or asking us questions, or can I get a drink of water? But I think it's true, and I know that at least, I'm trying to remember, 2 of my 4 kids got out of bed to come talk to us about their faith in Jesus and prayed to receive Jesus basically from the bed after they'd already been put to, we put them to bed. And so just a reminder to parents out there, you know, part of it is as your child lays in bed, and we all do this still, so I don't know why we don't expect kids to do it. When you're in bed, your mind starts to unwind and you start thinking about things a little deeper, and some questions start coming to your mind. So yeah, the stall tactics are real, but don't miss the opportunity. Don't confuse a significant spiritual question with a stall tactic on your kid's part. Have that conversation. I was going to say one other thing too. I noticed on here, I don't know if she's still watching, but Kim Vickery was on. Kim's husband, Brad, was my middle school Sunday school teacher. And Brad was another one of those figures. He was my small group leader for all through middle school. He just followed our group from, you know, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. And I still remember the room where we sat and had lessons. And Brad was that guy who just was with us guys. And we probably were a pretty rough group. I don't think we were very good middle schoolers, but he stayed with us. So another little thing made a big difference. Thanks, Brad.
So looking forward, what's up for the next series, and what's coming down the pipe?
Yeah, so I'm real excited about this series. You know, one of the things that we try to do at Southside is we try to balance topics and what does the Bible say about certain things, and then with sort of more exegetical book studies or biographies, character studies. And so Kim said, I'm here. You had Brad forever in Sunday school. He loved all of you. Yeah, we loved him too. He was awesome.
He loved you because of how challenging you were. You know, they always love the groups after they pass.
I don't know if we were, I don't think we were theologically challenging. I just think it was, you know, if we got through a lesson and all of us still in the room sitting there, that was probably a win for Brad. The bar was not very high for us, I don't think.
Also known as any middle school boy or any middle school guy's teacher's goal in life.
But anyway, so we're looking forward to the next series will be on the prophet Jeremiah. So it's a biographical study of Jeremiah's life. So the book of Jeremiah is really long. It's about 52 chapters. So we're not going to cover it in its entirety, but we're going to take the highlights of Jeremiah's life. And then our small group material is going to also be based on Jeremiah. So it will fill in the gaps that we don't cover on Sunday morning. So I would really encourage everybody starting this coming week, if you're not normally in a small group, make sure this week that you are, that you're in worship or you're watching online, and that you are in a small group jumping into Zoom somewhere, because really you're going to get a broader perspective on the book of Jeremiah by doing both. Whereas if you just do the worship service, you're probably going to miss a lot of really good content from the book of Jeremiah. But we're calling him a prophet for the city. Jeremiah is a really interesting character in that he had a message, a pretty tough message to deliver to the people of Jerusalem, basically telling them that this is not going to go your way. You're going to get wiped out, but there's hope on the other side of that. And that's not a message anybody wants to share, but it's an important one. So I think it's really appropriate for us right now, because we're living in times where it seems pretty, you know, things seem kind of sketchy. We don't know what's going to happen. And so that message of, yes, things are hard, but there is hope beyond this is really important. So I hope you'll join us.
So are you preparing us all to be taken over and, you know, for the city to come down in burning flames?
I'm not claiming to be a prophet myself. I'm just going to teach about one. So I'm going to let the Holy Spirit do his job in letting people figure out what it means.
Any good sermon, I guess, in your head as you're thinking through them? Any one that's sticking out that you're looking forward to?
Man, there are several that as I've gotten into this, you know, at first I was going to do 6 weeks, and I went to 7. I think now I'm up to 8 weeks of looking at it. So I'm not going to let it get much longer than 8. We try to keep them 8's probably the top. But yeah, I've really been fascinated with the story of the fact that the temple, when Jeremiah first started his ministry, the King Josiah was just beginning his reforms of the temple. And they actually found the priest Hilkiah, who may be Jeremiah's dad, actually found the scroll. It's the book of Deuteronomy. They had lost it, basically. It just got lost in the temple over the years, under the kings who basically were worshiping false gods. And so the priesthood had kind of run amok, and the temple was just in disrepair. So they find this scroll, and they'd start a real renewal and revival. And Jeremiah was a part of that. But Jeremiah figured out really fast that it had become a nationalistic movement. that it wasn't really any more about seeking God, but it had become about Jewish nationalism and pride. So Jeremiah preached a very unpopular message saying, hey, you guys are confusing religion for the real issue of the heart. And he talks about, taking the heart of stone out and God replacing our hearts of stone with a flesh heart, writing the law on our hearts instead of being on tablets. So I'm really interested in that message. It kind of ties back to our Losing My Religion series a little bit. That'll be one of the messages. The message about the potter's wheel, of course, that's a passage everybody loves. I'm looking forward to that. And really just Jeremiah's persecution. He was really treated very badly for doing what God called him to do. And I think that is an interesting thing to really consider about how we can be obedient to what God calls us to do and still enter into some really challenging things, not because we're being disobedient, but because we're being obedient. Mm-hmm. And see, we live in an age today where a lot of theologians will tell you, hey, if you want your best life now, just do these things, follow these steps, obey God's will, and you'll be rich and prosperous and healthy and wealthy. And it's just not true. It's not true in the scripture. You don't see it played out. It's not true really in life. And so the story of Jeremiah reminds us that following God, being obedient to God, is costly. It is very costly. And I think that's another thing right now to be reminded of, that we, for those of us who are going to follow Jesus during these very trying times, it could be costly for us to do that. And we need to be prepared for that. And it is costly for many Christians around the world right now. And we forget that living where we live. We're upset because we have to wear face masks. And yet, there are parts of the world where people are taking their lives in their hands by worshiping together, and they sing in whispered tones, not because they're worried about the spread of COVID-19, but because they worry about the soldiers coming in. So I just think it's a timely message for us, and I'm really excited about it. Again, we'll start this Wednesday on campus at 6:30, Sunday on campus at 10:30, and then online Sunday morning. And that's this coming week. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, it should be a really fun series overall. I know I've been, when I first, because you polled us as a staff back in, April, about what series to move to. And, overall, I think the winning poll series was The Little Things, even though I was one of the few who voted for Jeremiah. But I just remember initially thinking through it, and I thought, I don't think Jeremiah would be good. And then just as I was thinking about it, and especially after we talked about it back then, I thought, man, this really could be really good for where we are. And really just to, I think there's a point where there is a sort of kind of lamenting that we should do over kind of our life kind of pre-COVID and how that's not where we are right now. But how do we have satisfaction? How do we find joy even in the current circumstance? I think is important, because Jeremiah is a book about how you can lament, but at the same time, you can find joy in satisfaction in God. And those two parallels seem like they can't exist at the same time, but I feel like Jeremiah helps to explain how they do.
I completely agree. And we'll probably, I'm not sure, but we'll probably circle back to the Book of Lamentations for Lent in 2021. And because I like to do, since Jeremiah wrote both, I like to do them in close proximity. I think it's going to be a really important series. And, one of the things that we've tried to do at Southside is do biographies from time to time. And so we've done Abraham, we've done Moses, Joshua, Nehemiah, Ruth, we've done Paul, we've done biographical series, and those are all on our website at ssbc.org. The book of Proverbs says, he who surrounds himself with the wise will be wise. And we think about that in terms of the community of people that we hang with. So it's like your mom always told you, be careful who you hang out with, because you'll become like them. You'll do what they do. And the Proverbs says the same thing. But it's not just about the people we hang out with. It's also about the people we study. It's about the people that we follow, So if we are going to be wise in our walk with Christ, studying the great men and women of the faith from the Bible is part of that. So doing these biographical series is real important for me. I mean, part of it's selfish, because I learn a lot from each of these men and these women and how they walk with God through different circumstances. So I'm excited to do a biographical series. I really love those. And if you're interested in checking any of those biographies out, I would encourage you You can go to the website and do that. Moses, Joshua, Ruth, all those are there. You can find them on the website. And now we'll add to that list Jeremiah.
Good. And I'll build time for Meg because I know she was still updating them as of Friday. So
They're not on yet. They're coming.
We think if they're not there yet, they are coming. Meg was working hard to get them all switched over and up on the website. So I'll build a disclaimer there for Meg to just to let you guys know about that. Well, next week, and I know we're coming up close to 30 minutes, so just want to also call out for you guys to pay attention. Next Sunday night, we will be streaming, but we will not be streaming onto Facebook. We will have a SALT meeting, and our SALT meeting right now, our plan is to post that up on Zoom. And so SALT stands for Southside Adult Leadership Training, is the acronym at one point, at least, for SALT. And so we're going to have all of it's a quarterly business meeting too. We're just going to have it all together. If you're coming on campus, let us know, RSVP to it, and you will get a box lunch. If you're going to join us on Zoom, let us know, and we will get you that Zoom link. It is something to where we typically only send those links out to adult leaders in leadership at Southside, just to get them involved. But if you're not a leader at Southside, it's not something super secret and hidden. We're completely willing to send that link out to you too. So just let us know that you want to come. Let us know you want to hear it, and we're happy to extend that link over to you. Because in normal situations, you could just show up. You don't have to be a member of Southside to come to one of those things.
I think, yeah, it's a really important, it's really important time in our church, as it is in every church, just trying to figure out how to respond. So this particular SALT meeting on next Sunday night, we're going to roll out our ever evolving plans about what's next, and some real exciting things about groups, how we can sort of reimagine groups given what COVID has done to our small groups in particular. And so that's something to be a part of. So I want to encourage you, like Darren said, jump in, be a part of that conversation. Also, two other things I just want to get out there. One is, we'll talk more about this assault, but in August, we are changing up our schedule a little bit, just so that everybody's aware. For the month of August, we will actually be having groups meeting at 9 a.m., but it's not going to be the way groups were before. We're going to take the month of August, and at 9 a.m. we're going to have what we're calling regional gatherings. Now, what this basically means is we've divided the city into 4 different regions, and based on where you live, we're asking you to attend the regional gathering that corresponds with where you live. And the reason we're doing that is because we know that given the situation with COVID, ministry in our communities and neighborhoods is really how we're living right now. You know, we can't always get to campus, can't always do everything. So we're just going to bring regions of the city together to pray about and talk about what they can do specifically in their region. It's going to be 5 weeks. I'll be teaching a session. Darren will be teaching a session. Todd, Scott, and then Mike Reed will be in. So you'll have a different you'll have a different person bringing the content every week, and then the same facilitators for each region every week. But that'll be at 9, next gen programming at 9, and then we'll worship together at 10:30. So again, that's our August schedule. That's kind of our next phase as we move forward. And those hopefully will be online as well for those of you who are still staying safe at home. So that's one announcement. The other thing is too, I want to remind everybody that we're starting, or if you haven't heard about this, to inform you, we are starting an emphasis during this Jeremiah series called the 714 40 Days of Prayer. And we are going to encourage everybody who wants to sign up and be a part of the 714 prayer team. And that just simply means, it's based on 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and seek my face and pray and turn from their wicked ways, then I'll hear from heaven, forgive their sins, and I'll heal their land. 7:14. Every day, twice a day at 7:14 a.m. and 7:14 p.m., we're just going to all stop and pray. And we've got prayer prompts on our website. If you want to go to ssbc.org, there are some prayer prompts listed there. You can use a prompt in the morning and one in the evening. We put 80 prompts together for you. If you want them, you can pray whatever you want, even if it's just if you're at work and you can slip to the bathroom for a minute. It's nothing formal. We're going to kick it off tomorrow night, and I'm encouraging everybody to start tomorrow night, Monday night at 7:14 p.m. and to fast for 24 hours, a day of prayer and fasting. So fasting from 7:14 p.m. on Monday to 7:14 p.m. on Tuesday, just to get our hearts and minds focused in on this 40 days of prayer. And, right now, really praying is the most important ministry we can have as believers. So I hope you'll join us. Again, if you go to ssbc.org and go down to the tab that says 7:14, you can sign up so that you're officially a part. We'll email you some content. There's content there for you to download. The prayer prompts are there. You can also text 714 to 904-441-8650, and you'll get twice daily text reminders. It's time to pray. And I know I'm doing that because that's going to be helpful to me, just to remind myself. I'm either going to do that or I'm going to set an alarm on my phone, one or the other, just to make sure I remember. So we hope that everybody will join us for this time of prayer. That's really, really important ministry for all of us to be part of.
Yeah, and I'll kind of walk us through just where that is on the website. So if you go, Gary, is it on your screen right now, just so I can make sure it's live?
It is.
Okay. If you go onto the website, just ssbc.org, you scroll right down, and there's 7:14 right here on the right-hand side. Little Things is on the left-hand side. I want to thank you guys for filling out things right there. So 7:14 is right here. If it's not right here, I know once the series starts, we're going to move it to the other side. But right here, you click on this tab. You can click here to sign up and be part of that prayer team that Gary was talking about. And then you also have a fasting guide and the prayer prompts right here on the website, along with just the upcoming information about what's coming up. And a big point here too to call out is just beach baptism at 5 o'clock in Hannah Park in August. That is coming up. We're highlighting that right now to you guys because if you are interested in baptism and you have not been baptized yet, let us know. We have a few people that are going to get baptized here recently. One that I'm really excited about isn't going to be able to join us at beach, but we're going to record that anyways at the end of the month. And that'll be a really cool story when you get to see that on one of our videos. But if you are interested in being baptized and following in the depiction, today's sermon is perfect with the burial, in the depiction of Jesus's death, burial, and resurrection through baptism, let us know. You can text us at that number, 904-441-8650. We'd love to know about it, and we'd love to open up the chance for you to be baptized at the beach baptism. Gary, any last words before we kind of end it tonight?
Yeah, and I know I've said this so many times, but I really mean it. When I pray, I'm constantly giving thanks for this church and this congregation, and just for their generosity, for their patience, for their love, and just for their steadfast determination during this challenge. I'm amazed at how so many people have gone to extraordinary measures to care for their neighbors, care for other people in the church. And you are living Jesus out well in this community, in this city during these trying times. And I'm very grateful. It's such an honor for me to be the pastor here. It's such an honor for me to serve with this staff. We've got such an incredible group of people committed and working together. And I'm just really, really grateful. And I want to encourage you, Galatians 6:9 says, let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Do not give up. We don't know how long this is going to go on. We don't know what's going to happen next, but God does. And so I just encourage you. I know people are getting tired. I know this is, some people are beginning to fade. If you haven't seen somebody or heard from somebody in a while, maybe you were in a small group with them before and you haven't seen them or talked to them in a while, send a text, make a call. It is so important that you just go that, again, that's a little thing, but it's not such a little thing. I would encourage you to go the extra mile right now, because it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And we got runners who are tired and cramping up on the side, and they just need a little encouragement. So I again, thank you guys for doing that already, and the way you're going to continue to do it as we go forward. And thank you, Darren.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for joining in, and we will see you. Remember, we won't see you next week on Facebook. We will be at SALT, and if you're interested, just let us know. And if you're on Facebook and you're one of our normal Facebook guys, we will see you in 2 weeks, and that'll be the end of July. So we'll see you then.
See ya.